Shalom Task Force answers the call. We literally answer the call every day for a listening ear, to speak to somebody who can say, I am here for you, I understand what you're going through, and I believe you.
Domestic abuse, violence, family violence, very disturbing relationships in families is not a Jewish issue. It's not an Orthodox issue. It's a human issue.
Our human nature is such that we try to convince ourselves that there's a reason why this happened, even though our training has taught us otherwise. The hardest call was that call that just as well could have been my daughter.
I met my ex-husband, my abuser, when I was 16 years old. I wanted to get married right away, but we waited until it made sense, quote unquote. I was 18, he was 21 when we got married, and we were subsequently married for 5 years.
I was doing some pro bono work for a non-denominational shelter in the city, and the social worker asked me if I could see some of the patients.
When I was told that there were women in our community who had bruises, who were being abused, I said, no, it really can't be. It must be an aberration.
He said, we have a problem. We have to do something. And he said, you got to do it. We hardly knew each other, but he put his finger on me and he said, we've got to do it.
What impacted me and what made me start thinking about getting involved was meeting victims and hearing their stories and trying to understand what it was that prevented them from reaching out for help.
The first time I actually realized that it was escalating without knowing that it was abuse, that it was escalating, was when he locked me out of our apartment during the first year that we were married. It was winter, and he got mad at me while we were out for one reason or another, and he locked me out. And I think at that point I realized that this is not typical, this is not normal, but I still wasn't able to label it abuse.
It's emotional, it's name calling and minimizing and blaming. It's verbal, it's using children, it's financial abuse, not allowing one person to have access to funds. There's sexual violence, there's spiritual violence, getting in the way of the person's relationship with Hashem, and then there's physical violence.
We decided in our community no one is going to come and speak to us if they know that we will know who they are, because they're very concerned about who will want to marry their children, how will their children get a good shidduch.
Fear, embarrassment, not being aware that the resources were available, thinking they were alone, so many reasons. And that's how we start to think about creating the hotline in order to make that connection.
To build them up and give them the confidence to seek what it is that they need and what they deserve.
We never tell a woman that she should get divorced. However, many women want to understand their options. So we'll give them a legal referral, or we'll give them a therapist as a referral.
Sarah's voice is really instrumental to survivors. Before Sarah's voice, it was really very difficult for a man or a woman, a survivor, looking to leave an abusive relationship to get out. They weren't on equal footing. That paralegal or attorney on the other end of the line will be able to help them figure out what the proper steps would be to preserve their rights and those of their children.
It's not about destroying or destructing or breaking up a community. It's about being safe.
After our separation, the abuse just escalated 100-fold. He would call my family hundreds of times a day, hundreds. He would leave threatening voicemails on my parents' house phone, threatening to kill my entire family, to kill me. He sent really intimate photos of me to my father at his work, to his employers, to my employer, to my friends. He approached my brother with a knife several times. These were things that I did not see in the 7 years that we were together. I think on some level I always knew that it was unhealthy, but I couldn't understand why.
We talk about healthy relationships, we talk about unhealthy relationships, and then we also talk about how that is different from abuse. What would that look like in a dating situation? What are some red flags? What are some warning signs that they should look out for that might turn into a possible abusive relationship? It is a reality that girls do feel pressured to date and to get married early and to ignore warning signs. But my hope is They'll remember that this lady came to their high school class and said about trusting your gut. They'll look into it a little bit more and get help.
We need healthy families. It costs too much. It's painful. There's a human cost. We can't afford to have people that can't function, people that are hurting, children that can't move forward.